everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby. In case you are new here, thank you for clicking on this video. You would do me a favor and go and subscribe, okay? I made a poll on Instagram, which if you don't follow me on Instagram, go and do that, because that's the only way that I can really think of right now to reach out to you guys. And so I asked recently what kind of video you guys would prefer. Most people said coping with anxiety. I'm stressed. This video, I kid you not, I've been wanting to make since December, but every time that it's a video that's more related to my experience with anxiety or my experience with trauma or whatever, it is a lot harder for me to talk about, but I want to do it. So if you're interested in learning some things that have helped me in coping with anxiety and even depression, then go ahead and keep watching. I even made a little list because I want to make sure that I touch on everything, and when it's stuff like this, I always tend to just ramble because I get nervous, and so I made a list. Basically what it comes down to is I think that when you think about 3 different ways that our body needs to cope, okay? So not only is it our body, but also the mental, just emotional side, and also a spiritual side, okay? I'm gonna start off with the body, okay? I was never the type of person that was really into sports or really into exercising, but I kept hearing by different doctors of mine that would tell me, hey, I need you to exercise. And it would be people like my chiropractor or my psychiatrist or even just my regular doctor. These doctors were all telling me the same thing, to start exercising. I decided to give it a try, and it really became an outlet for me. So for many years, I struggled with different types of self-harm, okay? Sometimes that came in the form of scratching myself, or another thing was I would deprive myself of things that I needed. Because I struggled with blaming myself, I also wanted to take matters into my own hands and punish the only person that I really could, which was myself. When I started exercising, it helped a lot because it releases endorphins, and so it's a natural way to increase the amount of those happy hormones, okay? It helped me because it became a way for me to release and also end up obtaining some of that benefit without having to harm myself, without having to punish myself. Another main thing is sleep. So if you already struggle with anxiety and you didn't have enough sleep that night, then it's gonna be more it amplifies everything, okay? So that was another thing that I've had to change. Started it little by little because it wasn't just let me completely shut my schedule. I suffered with insomnia because it became a habitual thing. So slowly changing that and allowing yourself to have the adequate amount of sleep will significantly improve the way you process things, and therefore the way that you sense them, the way that you feel. The anxiety won't feel as bad because you'll be able to properly process something that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to, because you wouldn't have had the right amount of sleep that your body needs. If you are having trouble with something like that, I would suggest talking to your doctor. Many times they will prescribe a little bit of melatonin, which is over the counter, but they'll be able to better tell you about what dose would work for you. Sometimes they start you off on I think the 5 milligrams. I think I got up to the point of 10 or 15, but it really depends on what your doctor recommends for you. It depends on how old you are. It depends on how long this sleeping pattern has been going on for, and all these different factors will have a say as to the amount that you need. And so I would strongly recommend talking to your doctor about that. I will mention that if you don't make your environment one in which you can sleep once you've taken melatonin, you can actually override the effects of it. And so I did that several times. Sometimes I would still be on my phone while I had just taken melatonin, and so I would be really tired, but I'd be nah, just 5 more minutes, and then I would override the effects. So that's something to consider as well. The next part that I want to talk to you guys about is the emotional side. This was really, really hard for me, and it was just literally seeking help, okay? And that was so hard for me. I liked the ability to cope on my own, even if it was the wrong way, what was hard for me was that the anxiety was also linked with, OCD, and it was also linked with depression, and these were all what you would call comorbid, okay, which means that they were all different disorders that were going on at the same time, and they usually do go hand in hand. And so that's why it's so important to talk to someone who knows about this sort of thing so that they can form a plan with you to better cope with what you are trying to work out. I was at the point where I couldn't focus on anything else because the anxiety was so bad, and the depression and the OCD. It was so much that I couldn't focus on anything else. And she was able to prescribe some medication. And again, very controversial topic, especially in like the Christian world, the Christian sphere. People are very outspoken as to whether it should be just prayer, just medication, or both. And I fall in that last category. I think that it takes both. I couldn't focus on dealing with any of the spiritual aspects because I couldn't stop my mind from just every possible scenario that could happen and all of this going on. And so I needed something that would help so that I could focus on the real reason, the real root of the problem. I was able to take my medication, find a good dosage, which again, that is something that takes a lot of time. Odds are you're gonna switch medications. I was on probably like 2 or 3 different ones before I finally found the right one for me. That was something that really helped me. And having someone that heard me, you need to click with your psychiatrist or therapist. I have had many, let me tell you, and if I don't like them, it's not going to go anywhere. So you need to find one that you like, that you feel confident receiving help from, that you feel comfortable sharing your story with, because you will be so vulnerable with that person. That's the only way that this will work. That kind of goes into the next thing that I would like to suggest, which is take time to know yourself, okay? For example, I'm a very analytical person, okay? I analyze every situation. I try to figure out what, I like knowing the outcomes of different scenarios, and that's the way I am, and it helps me to know that about myself. Know what works for you, know what doesn't. Maybe for me, exercise is going to be an awesome outlet. Maybe for someone else, it's, their music, or maybe for someone else, it's animals. Animals. They're literally sent from God, okay? My dog, Pepper, who passed away recently, about a month ago, she helped me so much with coping with these sort of things, okay? Animals can become companions, and they can become we don't deserve them. Another great thing is getting involved in your community, any type of outreach programs, and when you start helping others, it kind of goes both ways. Not only are you helping them, but it also ends up helping you, and you're doing something good for the community. That really helped me because it allowed me to see things in a different way. It took my eyes off of myself and onto someone else. It allowed me to put the gifts that the Lord had given me and actually use them instead of just letting them sit there while I focused on myself and sat around my room sulking, okay? When you get plugged into your community, into certain things that you're interested in, you will build yourself a community, a supportive community who gets to know you, who loves on you, who supports you, who wants to be there for you. And that is life-changing. Get rid of all those toxic friends, okay? When I tell you, people can make your life a living hell, and you need to do what is right for you. Most Christians believe that, again, I'm saying most, they believe that when you are dealing with something that is involving mental health, it is a spiritual attack, okay? Now, that can be true. Yes, it can. And again, this is from a Christian, okay? The Lord is my Savior. I love Him. But you need to realize that some of those spiritual attacks can also manifest physically, okay? And what I mean by that is that there are actual things that your body may be lacking that you need to actually use medication to supply, okay? Now, not everybody is okay with that, and that's totally understandable. I do believe that for me, it was more of like the half and half. Like, yes, I did personally, I felt like it was a spiritual attack, but it also stemmed from something that was very much physical, okay? And so I had to tackle both sides of it. I needed to look at not only using medication to supply my body with what it needed.
This is Editing Abby. Just to insert here, the importance of talking to your doctor before you decide on whether or not you want to go on medication. I think it is very important to discuss the side effects of medication as well as the withdrawal symptoms. Depending on the medication that you are on, you can experience certain signs of withdrawal if you do abruptly stop it. These are all questions that I wish I would have asked my doctor before starting my medication.
But also tackling the spiritual side, talking to God and being like, I can't handle this. Letting myself take some time to meditate on the word, okay? To read about the different lives of people that had gone through similar things. Now, if you are not a Christian and you're like, what is she talking about? Look, I do not think that the way to further the kingdom of the Lord is through pushing religion on people, okay? That is not my personal belief. I believe that it has to be a personal choice, and I can sit here and tell you to read the Bible all day, but that's your decision. It's not going to do anything if you're not in it. It has to be a heart matter. It has to be a personal decision. It's not just about pushing a religion on you. That's not going to do you any favors. So, I'm going to put it out there. Read the Bible. It's going to help. You have nothing to lose, okay? You have nothing to lose. But at the end of the day, that's your decision. I'm just letting you know what helped me, and knowing that there is a God out there who loved me despite my flaws. And yes, I personally did feel like all of these things were flaws. And now, I realized that it was just a situation that I was working through. It doesn't mean that I'm worthless. And the Lord is using each of these situations for the greater good. And that's something that truly saved me. Many Christians will say, well, but can't God take all this away? Yes, but it doesn't mean that He will. What if He wants you to go through the process? I believe that when you become a Christian, the Lord sees you now as a saint because He sees you through Christ's sacrifice on the cross. But also, you're still going through that molding process. The Lord is making you into just the ultimate that you're supposed to be, okay? The ultimate of who you are. So, there is this Abby, the mediocre Abby, and the best Abby that I can be. And the Lord is trying to put me all the way to the best Abby that I can be. And if that requires me going through processes that hurt, that is okay, because at the end of the day, I'm going to become a stronger, better person because of it. Okay? And I truly believe that. The biggest thing that I want you to learn through this video, or at least come out understanding, is that you need to be patient with yourself, okay? Anxiety is a hard thing to overcome, and I still struggle with it. Am I doing a lot better? Yes. But has it been a struggle? Yes. So you need to be patient with yourself, and that's why having that community of people that are supporting you and helping you grow is going to be so crucial to this, okay? You don't need anybody that's going to drag you down, and you need to be super patient with yourself and understanding, because it's so easy to blame yourself. It's so easy to pick out all your flaws and all the things that you could have done, but at the end of the day, it's okay. Be patient with yourself, okay? This is a hard thing to go through. And it's so sad that a majority of people struggle with anxiety. Now, look, ever since I went to college, I was not a big fan of reading anymore because you're so busy reading textbooks, you don't got time to read for fun. When I was going through all of this and I was done with school, I decided that I was going to start reading, because for me, understanding what I'm going through makes it so much easier for me to get through it. Again, that's just the way that I process things. That's the way that I think. That's the way that helps me, that works for me. And this book was so good. Yes, he knows what he's talking about. He's been through it, okay? And he talks about not only the importance of seeking help, the importance of these, like, of tackling each side, tackling the physical aspects of anxiety, the emotional and the spiritual aspects of it. And he uses all these different technical terms and, like, talks about his experiences, talks about different techniques, talks about different parts of scripture that deal with anxiety or depression and can help you and are going to be great tools for you. He really does a good job of explaining why being a Christian doesn't mean that you just have to pray everything away. You know, the Lord made these doctors to have the wisdom that they have in order to help his people. Again, can the Lord heal? Yes. But it doesn't mean he's required to, okay? And it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to seek other ways of help that he has put out there into the world, okay? He has put these things for you to use. And so just shutting yourself out from all of these other resources that he's allowed for you to have is also not the best idea. I will link that book below because I think it is a great book. I think that it's so much easier to hear from someone that has experienced it. I was reading this book and I was like, oh my goodness, that is exactly how I felt. And it really does show you, like, that there is a way to get better. And that was the hope that I needed to try. In my last therapy session, we were talking about different techniques, and she mentioned this one technique, and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard of it. But as she started talking about it, I realized that I had kind of been doing it all along. Like, look, I've suffered with anxiety for as long as I can remember. I don't have a normal to base, like a before or after. Like, I just remember this, okay? This is my normal. And so I've had to deal with all of this for a really long time. And what I found that helped a lot, which is, again, it was so funny that she was telling me that same technique and there was like an actual word for it. It's like using like the worst possible scenarios. An example of that is going back to like getting a bad grade. If I got a bad grade, I'd be like, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world, and like anxiety would skyrocket, okay? But taking a second and being like, you know what is the worst thing that could happen if I did in fact fail that? Or if I really, like, if he doesn't let me retake this or whatever, maybe I fail the class. And then you go to the next worst scenario. Well, what if I fail the class? What's the worst thing that could happen? I end up dropping out, okay? Like, literally go to like the worst scenario that you can think of, okay? Well, then next worst thing is you can't do the job that you've been dreaming of. And when you realize that even the biggest, the worst scenario out there, like, you can still overcome that you could still survive it, the anxiety lowers because you realize that even the worst of the worst isn't as bad as your mind is making it out to be. And like, I am telling you, this helped me so much. That's basically where I want to end this because it's just such a broad concept, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm hoping that I can edit this well enough for you guys to understand where my mind just went, because I feel like they're also like all these different aspects of like the like who you are as a person and how complicated we are. Like, it's so hard to describe how something like anxiety or like depression affects all of them and how you have to tackle each and every single one of those aspects that, like, and they're all interconnected. And so I feel like I just kind of might have lost some of y'all in the way I explained it, but I'm gonna try and edit this to where it makes sense. So hopefully if you got to the end of this, let me know, okay? And if you understood it, let me know. If you have questions, please comment down below, and I am more than willing to answer, because I wish I could have asked someone so many questions when I was at my worst. And so if you have a question, please ask away. I want to be an open book because I understand how crucial that is for someone who is at their lowest. I will see y'all next week for a more lighthearted video, And I hope that you guys have a great week. I hope that this was able to help you guys. I hope that you're able to overcome this. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.